Okay, let's go. Mushroom Kingdom, here we... Okay, that joke's been run into the ground. But hi everyone. Not welcome to the stream because I am doing a pre-recording of this. I'm just putting this on YouTube. So, I guess if I'm live later, I will tell you guys to go check this out on YouTube. If you're already watching this on YouTube, then hello. So, I just got home. I am fucking wet because it is soaking outside. It's like really raining in Scotland. Like, it's been nice and dry for the last week or so. Of course, the day I decide to go out and watch the Mario movie, it's like fucking pissing rain. But that aside, I went to see it. I went with a friend. You may know him in my Twitch chats, like as Deej Bruce. Good friends. So we went to see the movie. I'm not really sure how I'm going to structure this. Like, I'm not really a movie reviewer, and I'm kind of scatterbrained when it comes to, like, you know, talking about my thoughts on, like, you know, media in general, which is why I never really do it. Having said that, I do want to talk about my thoughts on the Mario movie. I guess I'll start with, like, you know, the general, like, you know, premise of the movie, like, maybe some of the beats. I'm not going to go too into spoilers early on in this quote-unquote discussion, but I will start talking about the spoilers in the back half. I will give you the spoiler warning if you want to avoid it, you know. If you're the kind of person that doesn't want to know anything about the movie, outside of the, you know, just the obvious from the trailers and whatnot, you probably don't want to watch this anyway, but if you are watching, and if you want to stick around, I do appreciate that. So, the Mario movie. First of all, I know this is completely unrelated, but I was sitting in the cinema today and I was noticing there was a bunch of kids. Yes, on a school day. At least I thought it was a school day because Wednesday, but turns out there is a school holiday today, so I was like, well, fuck. I booked my ticket like weeks ago just to go see day one because I was like, well, I wasn't expecting it to be a school holiday so that kids would be there. I thought I would be like, okay, I'll go in before school is out for the day, not realising that there was no school to begin with. So that happened. Thankfully, it wasn't too bad. There were kids there, there were parents and whatnot going to see it, but it wasn't as chaotic or, like, unbearable as I thought it was. There was no, like, screaming children going about going, yeah, Mario, yeah! It wasn't like that, thank God. But yeah, that aside, I did see it, and I guess I will start talking about my thoughts on the movie now. So, let's address the elephant in the room, you know, the thing that people won't shut the fuck up about ever since October of last year, you know, when they first showed the Mario movie trailer, like the very first one. Chris Pratt. On one hand, yeah, it's just Chris Pratt being Chris Pratt. On the other hand, I honest to God don't mind it. Like, I think it's okay for him to, like... I mean, he could have put on a bit more of a Brooklyn or, like, New Yorkan accent, but I honestly wasn't expecting the movie to be, like, you know, him sounding exactly like Charles Martinet Mario, because even though it's, like, a movie about a cartoon Italian plumber going Wahoo, they're still kind of going about this relatively sort of grounded, like, sort of angle for, like, where Mario comes from. Because Mario and Luigi, you know, come from the quote-unquote real world, like New York and whatnot. So, I can kind of see, like, them being like, okay, we're not going to make him go wahoo every 2 seconds, they're just going to make him sound like an everyday, regular human being, and... You know, you could do worse, but you could also do better, I guess. I can't really give any names offhand because I can't think of any good ones because I'm not an expert at voice actors. But I'm okay with Chris Pratt as Mario. It's not the worst thing ever. Like, some people think this is going to ruin the movie. It doesn't really change my overall thoughts on the movie. Like, I didn't mind it. Like, I'm one of those, like, I'm like one of fucking 3 people in the world who are like, oh, it's okay, it's fine, when it comes to, like, the voice. Like, there's just people out there with, like, pitchforks and torches being like, burn the movie! Chris Pratt sucks! Like, they're kind of like that. Anyways, the movie itself. So, I'll just give you the broad strokes of the story. I'm not going to go too into it, but... Like, I'll talk a bit more about the story in the spoiler section, I guess, but... I mean, you can kind of put together how the movie's going to play out based on the trailers. which is why I generally don't watch movie trailers, but I did end up watching the movie trailers anyway, just because I wanted to see what the movie looked like and what they were going to show. So, yeah, Mario and Luigi come from the real world. They have a plumbing job in New York. They do, like, plumbing jobs in, like, Brooklyn and the Queens and, like, you know, all kinds of places about that area. And Mario and Luigi actually have a family. Like, you do get to see their, like, extended family in this, which is kind of weird. So, yeah, that's a thing that happens. But, yeah, they pretty much establish, oh, they're just, like, everyday, like, you know, the everyman, like, just guys who are just trying to, like, you know, do whatever they can to, like, you know, make a living and want to be successes in their own right. And their plumbing business is, like, you know, struggling and whatnot. And then, of course, one after one, like, event leads to another, they end up getting, like, transported through a pipe underground into the Mushroom Kingdom. So it's not exactly like the Super Show, like, you know, the little intro thing where it's like they go sucking down the drain in the bath pipe. It's not like that. They find a giant pipe hidden under the sewers, and it's like, okay, that's how they get into the Mushroom Kingdom. Mario and Luigi get separated, and Mario's in the Mushroom Kingdom, Luigi's in, they call it the Dark Lands, which I'm guessing is a reference to the Mario 3 Dark World. You know, because that's like Bowser's territory, so yeah. And then Mario sees Peach. So, sorry if I'm just surmising here, like this is probably boring to listen to, but I'm just trying to like summarize you know, oh, I'm really bad at it. This is why I don't do movie reviews. I didn't do it for the Sonic movies, but let's talk about some of the... You know what? Yeah, I'm just going to change gears. I guess I will maybe go into spoilers, I'm not entirely sure. Like, I don't really have a plan or a structure here, so this is going to be extremely, like, just, you know, scatterbrained commentary, so... yeah. Let's talk about the other voice actors. Charlie Day is Luigi. I've never seen Always Sunny, but from what I've heard, at least from my friend that I went to go see it with, it's pretty much just, you know, the guy from Always Sunny, which kind of works for Luigi, in my opinion. I've never seen Always Sunny. I need to watch that someday. But he's got a very fitting voice. It kind of does fit him. It fits him much better than Chris Pratt fits Mario. I'll give him that at least. And I do like, you know, just their sort of like brotherly camaraderie. I'm good with words. You get what I'm trying to say. Anyways. And of course, I forgot the name of the voice actress that does Peach. She's decent. Michael Keegan-Key, I think I got his name right, does Toad, and he was a lot of fun, actually. He had a lot of really good moments. Like, he was... I wouldn't necessarily say chewing the scenery, but he was, you know, getting a lot of, like, lines and, like, sort of, like, you know, moments in the background, so that was a thing. Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong, now that I've actually heard him, like, speaking properly, it's fine. Oh yeah, one thing about Seth Rogen, like, you just cannot have a fucking movie with Seth Rogen featured in it without him going Yeah, he actually does do that twice, actually. He does that 2 times in the movie. So yeah, that's a thing. So watch out for the Seth Rogen laugh, you're gonna hear it. Like, if you're not a fan of the Seth Rogen laugh, you're not gonna enjoy that. But of course, stealing the fucking show, Jack Black as Bowser. He doesn't get a ton of screen time. Like, you get to see him every now and again, and you get to see him a little bit more toward the end, like during the climax of the big showdown and whatnot. But the times that he was on the screen, he was just, you know, on point. Like, I fucking love Jack Black. He's really funny, and like, he's not, like, you know, super hilarious, but I did like his delivery of the lines as Bowser. Like, he definitely fits the role very well. Again, way better than Chris Pratt as Mario. I feel like I have to say that because people are gonna... Well, nobody's gonna ask me, but in case they did or wanted to know, then there you go. I feel like almost everybody was better than Chris Pratt. Again, I don't mind Chris Pratt, but yeah, it was just kind of like... What did the kids say? Mid? So, Bowser, you know, steals the fucking show, much like Jim Carrey steals the show in the 2 Sonic movies. Like, they're just perfect for the villain roles. And there is one thing I'm going to say about Jack Black. as we get into the spoiler territory. Yeah, you know what? Why don't we start talking about the bigger part? Like, we'll talk about the general plot line, because I did talk about, like, the first, like, 15 minutes of the movie, but I didn't really go too far in because I wasn't sure how to structure it or, like, be quote-unquote spoiler-free, because I'm not really good at, like, discussing, or unless I, like, write a fucking essay, which I'm not gonna do because I'm lazy. I'd rather just, you know, speak my mind and just talk about how I feel. God, I've been recording for 10 minutes. Sorry if anyone's bored by this, by the way. So yeah, let's talk about the plot, and I guess the spoilers and whatnot, and then my overall thoughts on the movie as we go through. So, when Mario and Luigi get separated, Mario obviously goes to see Princess Toadstool, or Peach. They don't call her Princess Toadstool, I'm just thinking like old school Mario. But yeah, they go to see Peach, and then she basically is like, yeah, Bowser has the Power Star, I think they call it the Super Star, but I'm just going to call it the Power Star because I'm used to Mario 64 terminology. So they got the Power Star, and Peach is like, okay, we're going to have to get some help from another army, so they go on a journey. It's not a super long journey, it's not like it takes up half the movie, it's just like, oh, a quick montage of like them traversing the different kingdoms to get to this place, to go and see the Kong army, led by Cranky Kong. I forgot who voiced Cranky Kong, he was okay, didn't really have much to say about him. And meanwhile, Luigi gets kidnapped by Bowser, of course. He's being held hostage in a jail cell. You see him being held there alongside all the penguins from the start of the movie, and the little baby Luma, who says some very interesting things. That baby Luma gets a lot of moments actually in the back half of the movie. Like, they keep bringing him back to like constantly say like very down and depressing and dark things. It's like weird, but I like it. Also, this maybe it's just because I've got a certain mindset, but I was not expecting to hear Bowser at the start of the movie say, "You will die," or else you will die, or whatever. Like, just him saying the word "die" in a, you know, a goofy, cartoony Wahoo Mario movie. Like, it's weird to me because I was expecting Nintendo to kind of 4Kids this up a bit and, you know, not even reference death. And then again, like, the little baby Luma does that a lot. But yeah, it's still kind of weird to me because I'm just used to, like, 4Kids, how they're like, oh no, we can't say that. That's too unchristian. We have to send them to the Shadow Realm. But no, they do mention death, and they do mention dying, or, like, getting killed or whatever, so that's a thing. Again, this discussion, quote-unquote, is going to be very, very scatterbrains. I hope you don't mind listening to my irritating voice as I do this. At least you get to listen to the Mario 3D World music in the background. Right, so let's talk about the power-ups before we continue with this story. There's a bunch of power-ups. A lot of them, of course, have been shown in the trailers, like commercial spots and stuff. But there was one power-up I didn't see in those, like, trailers or spots or whatever. That is the small mushroom, the little blue mushroom, the one from New Super Mario Bros. That turns you tiny. So yeah, that was interesting to see. Everything else we pretty much saw in, like, all the trailers or the commercial spots or whatever, so you have the obvious, the super mushroom, you've got the fire flower, you've got... Oh, wait a minute, the ice flower was also in there as well. We didn't see that in those things. At least I don't think I've seen that. Yeah, the Cat Mario suit, Tanuki, I think that's it. No cape, sadly, but they do actually reference Cape Mario in, like, that weird, like, Super Mario Bros. Plumbing commercial, where it's just, like, Mario pretending to fly like Superman with, like, a cape on his back. So that was kind of cool. At least they got that in there. I do love Mario World references, but there's not a ton of it in here. It's more so referencing Mario 1 and Mario 3. A little bit of Mario 2 if you count the Shy Guys and Sniffets. So yeah, where do I go from here? Because, again, I'm just kind of just kind of figuring out how to, like, best talk about this. You know what I'm gonna do? Actually, no, I'm not gonna do that. I am drawing a blank. Here's some nice music for you. Let's talk about another thing that I guess is considered spoilers. I mean, it really depends. It's not really a story spoiler. It's more so, you know, a surprise that you don't know about until you go and watch the movie. So we know that Charles Martinet is not voicing Mario. And we did know that Charles Martinet will be having a guest voice. Like, he'll be voicing some random character in the movie that we do not know about. You don't have to watch much of the movie to learn who that is, because you see them in like the first 2 minutes of the movie. So basically, it's this random dude who I think works at a pizzeria joint, and he looks like Jumpman, and he's got like the fucking, like, you know, stereotypical like Mario voice where he just goes, "Let it go!" So yeah, that's basically who Charles Martinet is voicing. It's just some random pizzeria employee who looks like Jumpman from the original Donkey Kong. So there you go. That was what they did with Charles Martinet. You only see him like at the start of the movie, and then you see him again at the very end of the movie, like when like they go back to New York at the end for the final confrontation, because that does happen. So I could go on for a long time talking about this, but I'm gonna only talk about some key moments from now on, and then I will sum up my thoughts. There was one really cool thing that they did with Bowser, which I was not expecting, but again, it's Jack Black, so I guess I should have seen it coming. So one thing they did with Jack Black's Bowser is, at some point in the movie, so you'd think, okay, Bowser's end goal is to take over the Mushroom Kingdom or just the whole world in general, and that's like, yeah, that's fine. That is, you know, one of his goals. But the other thing he's also after, his other end goal, is that he wants to marry Princess Peach, which I guess makes sense. Like, if you've played Mario Odyssey, then I guess, you know, that kind of makes sense to me. They do have a little Mario Odyssey reference in there with, like, Bowser wearing, like, the tuxedo hat, like the fancy white tuxedo cap. So you see that at one part. But yeah, he wants to marry Princess Peach so that, you know, he can inherit the Mushroom Kingdom or whatever. So at one point in the movie, they actually have like a moment where he's just like playing piano and like singing about his like fondness and love for Peach, which is really fucking funny, because it's like, it's Jack Black, you know, like, you know, just flexing his like vocal cords, but he's also trying to make it sound like Bowser doesn't know how to sing, which is both weird but also really hilarious. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just like Bowser sitting on a sitting at a piano, playing this like really nice music, and he's just like singing about like how much he loves Princess Peach and how he wants to be her husband and whatnot, and like he just doesn't really know how to sing, both in terms of like the vocals and also just in terms of like, you know, singing capabilities. But at the same time, it's still like, you know, Jack Black singing, so it's also like, it's just layers upon layers of like humor there, I guess. I'm not a humor expert by any means. I mean, you've watched my streams, so, but I found it funny. Like, I was just stifling my laugh when I was watching that part. Right, so we'll talk about a bit of the climax, or like in the middle as well. Like, there was something interesting that happened. So Mario and DK like fight, and then like Mario wins the fight, and then they get the Kong army, because that was the deal. It was like Mario has to fight Donkey Kong in order for Peach to have the Kong army. So they recruit the Kong army, and then for some reason the Kong clan has access to like Mario Kart technology, because they just have a whole like gigantic underground, like, you know, subterranean like sort of car place. What would you call them? A garage. But yeah, they just have that sort of thing, and it's just like, okay, everybody gets a car, including all the Kongs, and Mario and Luigi, and not Luigi, so Mario, Peach, and Toad get their own carts and whatnot. And it's like, alright, let's take the shortcut so that we can take the fight to Bowser, and it's like, let's use Rainbow Road. So we saw the Rainbow Road thing in the trailer, and it's like there's a big battle scene there. The thing that kind of surprised me, or, well, it's not so much a surprise, but it is something that I was kind of not expecting. Let me get the picture here so that I can show it. Right, so here is one of the movie trailer posters. If anyone's like tabbed out right now, feel free to tab back in so you can see what I'm showing you here. So, in the movie poster, this movie poster came out like a month or two ago, maybe a couple months back. But in this poster, people were noticing this particular Koopa. I don't know if this Koopa has a name. I don't think they established a name for him. And I was wondering, what significance does this guy have? Because he's kind of like up there with all the main characters. So his real significance is, one, he has a couple voice lines in the movie. So you do get to hear him speak. I'm not sure who voices him. I did not research this. Also, during the battle on Rainbow Road, like, you think that they've, like, the Koopas have lost because Mario and the Kongs, like, stop the Koopas in their tracks, quite literally. But then this fucking guy, who will just not take it sitting down, ends up, like, going for a last-ditch effort to, like, stop them from getting to their destination. So what he does is fucking recede into a shell, like he's he goes into a shell and becomes the blue shell from Mario Kart, and fucking blows up the Rainbow Road so that they cannot go any further. So yeah, that's basically this guy's significance. You never see him again after this point, so it's pretty much implied that he, like, you know, just killed himself, or, like, went on a suicide mission or whatever. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that word anymore, but yeah, it was kind of weird. I was hoping you had a little bit more of, like, a critical role besides, like, you know, that sort of moment. Like, I thought you would have like, kind of a moment in the movie where, I don't know, where he would, like, switch sides, where he works for Bowser, he works for, like, you know, the bad guys, but then he switches to, like, the good guys or whatever. But no, it wasn't like that. It was just like, oh, it's voiced by, I'm guessing, like, just a celebrity or something. I have no idea. Feel free to let me know in the comments or whatever if you know who voiced this guy. But yeah, it was just like, oh, he's the only Koopa who has an actual voice, and he just does this one thing in the film that, like, changes how the film plays out. So yeah, that was the one thing that I found kind of weird. So, Rainbow Road is destroyed. Peach and Toad are the only ones who can get back to the castle to prepare for the, you know, the oncoming conflict with Bowser, while the Kongs and everybody else is, like, on the other side of Rainbow Roads. And what happens next is that Mario and Donkey Kong, during that blue shell explosion, they fall off of Rainbow Road and go into the ocean. And you get to see the giant eel from Mario 64 just, like, eat them up. So yeah, there's a reference to the eel from Mario 64, so that's in there. And you would think, okay, they're going to be out of commission for a while, but no, they're only enough, like, a minute and a half of even that, and it's just like, oh, we still have one of those rocket packs from our downed cart, so we can just use that to blast out of the mouth. It's kind of dumb. It just feels like a kind of a waste of time, honestly. It was just like, yeah, that was something that happened. It was just a way to separate Mario and the others to create drama, I suppose. So, Bowser reaches, like, the Mushroom Kingdom, and ends up, like, you know, forcing Peach to get in, like, to start, like, to basically marry him and, like, begin the wedding ceremony and stuff. But of course, Peach has other ideas, and she hides in her bouquet and ice flower to, like, you know, try and fuck everything up. But yeah, Bowser doesn't have any of it, and then Mario finally shows up and starts, you know, wrecking shit, I guess. Well, he doesn't really wreck shit, but he starts, like, fighting back and whatnot. Like, him, the Kongs, like, they all somehow make it back, and it's like, yeah. Again, I'm just describing the movie at this point, but God, I wish I should have structured this better, but yeah, I'm not the best at talking about movies, I'm not the best at reviewing it, but, you know, they fight each other, and then one thing leads to another. And what happens next is that they all end up getting sucked into the pipe that Mario came through at the start of the movie that led them into the Mushroom Kingdom. So everybody from the Mushroom Kingdom gets sucked through that pipe and into the real world, and that's where the final battle happens between Mario and Bowser. And then, you know, you can probably predict how the rest of the movie goes from there. So it's like they get the Power Star in the end, they become super, or like invincible, and they destroy... They basically wreck Bowser, and they end up giving him a tiny mushroom just to make him small and put him in a jar. So yeah, that's how they dispose of Bowser in the end. Of course, when you see Mario and Luigi both getting the star, like both of them are like there at the end and they both get the star power to defeat Bowser. And it's like, of course, when you have Mario and Bowser, and it's like Mario has the upper hand, I knew this was coming, like this was something I was thinking in the back of my mind, they're gonna do this. And yes, they did do it. The part where Mario grabs Bowser by the tail and fucking swings him and then tosses him. You don't get to hear him say "So long, Bowser," but hey, they do that at least, because I kind of figured that was going to happen during the final battle when Mario was, you know, about to win the fight. It's like, yeah, I'm going to toss you now. Another thing I want to say about the movie before we wrap up is the music is pretty good. There's a lot of good music in here, you know, Koji Kondo music, but like recomposed. All of it is great. If you're like a Mario fan like me, you'll enjoy like, you know, trying to guess which song is what from where. And I heard a good variety of like Mario songs across the entire series. Like I heard some from 3D Worlds, I heard some from Mario 3, Mario 1, don't know if I heard any Mario 2 music in there actually. But I did hear, let's see, I heard one song that kind of surprised me that just, you know, was in the middle of the movie was the Fury Bowser theme, which is done in the middle of the film when you see like the Koopas, the Koopas and the Goombas and like all the bad guys like having a rave party back in Bowser's castle. Once Bowser gets the star from the penguins. And it's like they play that music and I'm like, oh, okay, so we're pulling from something that recent, because Bowser's Fury that came out like when? 2020? Like late 2020? Or 2021? I forgot. It was like 2 years ago, so it wasn't that long ago. But yeah, there's a bunch of Mario music in here. I think I have a song from Mario Galaxy as well in there, but I forgot where. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, back in the real world, Spike. He's alright. Like, he's just this, you know, obnoxious guy that's basically there just to be kind of like an antagonist that looks down on like Mario and Luigi, being like, ah, you guys will never be good or whatever. And it's like, you know, by the end they prove him otherwise, and it's like, oh, okay then. So yeah, that they didn't do a whole lot with Spike, did they? It was basically just, he was just there just to be a dick. One other thing I do like to talk about, is the, you know, the hidden references and Easter eggs. There was a few that I spotted. One of the more obvious ones at the start of the movie is Kid Icarus, the NES game, because they do like show Mario playing Kid Icarus on his NES. And yes, Mario has an NES, and you know this is kind of a time paradox thing, because it's like, oh, Mario is a Nintendo character, but he lives in the real world, so he's not quite the Nintendo character we know yet, despite looking like Mario. But he's playing a Nintendo console that has another Nintendo franchise on it, which came out after Mario. So, yeah, that's kind of weird to think about. It's not something you really should be thinking too hard about, but when you stop for a moment to think about it, it's weird. But yeah, that was a thing. There was also a reference to Duck Hunt. I saw that in the background. There was like a little store sign that had a little logo of a duck. You know, like it was flying away from like the Duck Hunt dog. There was also the pizzeria that they were in at one point in the film was called Punch Out, and they used like the old Punch Out logo for it, so that was cool. So yeah, some legacy Nintendo stuff being referenced here and there, which is nice to see. Wait, why is there Zelda music playing? What the fuck? Oh right, it's from Mario 3D World's like Zelda room. I forgot that was in this game. I was about to, like, I've got a playlist of Mario 3D World music playing in the background, and I just suddenly hear the music, the Zelda music, and I'm like, what? Anyways, they also briefly reference some of the, you know, extended family of the Kongs. Like, I saw Diddy Kong, Dixie Kong, and I think Chunky, or I don't know, was it Chunky Kong or Kiddy Kong? Like, they show them a couple times, but I didn't really get a good look at them when they did, so it was one of those two. I'm guessing, considering they probably want to reference, like, the old SNES games, it might just be Kiddy Kong, who knows. Also, the DK rap very briefly makes an appearance. So yeah, I think it's like the Smash Brothers version that they mix into, like, you know, DK's introduction, where it's like, DK, Donkey Kong! Like that. So that was kind of neat. I don't know if it was the original version. I forgot. Was it the original one, or was it the Smash remix? I honestly don't remember, but the DK rap there is there in some form. Was there any other stuff I wanted to mention? There's probably some stuff that I'm leaving out. Again, I haven't structured this the best. I'm just talking about my thoughts. I've been recording for 30 minutes. Jesus fucking Christ. You know what? Why don't we just, why don't we wrap things up here, because I don't want this to go on for much longer. I've got stuff to do. So, what are my overall thoughts on the movie? My overall thoughts on the movie is, it's decent. It's alright. I enjoyed it. It's fun. Do I think it's the best thing ever? Not really. But it's fun. Like, here's the thing with the Mario movie. It's really enjoyable, but it's also a very safe movie. Like, it doesn't really take too much risk, which is weird to say, but, like, the Sonic movie felt, like, very risky. The first two, well, the first Sonic movie especially, but the Sonic movies in general are, like, very risky, like, movies for Sega to do with, like, Sonic. The Mario movie kind of feels like it's just sort of like, you know, playing it by, like, basically playing it by the book. Like, it doesn't do too much out of the ordinary, so you're not going to see anything, you know, out of the normal for, like, Mario. Like, it's basically just, you know, Bing Bing Wahoo Mario Man, the movie. But you know what, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's still an enjoyable watch, but again, some people might be a little bit underwhelmed that it's, like, kind of safe. Like, I would describe this movie as a crowd pleaser. Like, it's not necessarily going to be the, you know, the most mind-blowing thing ever, but it definitely knows how to play to a crowd and, like, definitely makes you feel like you're having a good time, even if it's, like, ultimately, you know, staying on the safe end of the spectrum. I don't know what I'm talking about, but yeah, I think you understand where I'm trying to come from. But yeah, it's a safe film. It's okay. Like, I liked it. I would maybe, how would I rate this out of 10? Maybe I would give it 7.5 out of 10. It's decent. Like, I don't think it's, you know, incredible or anything. I mean, the Sonic movie wasn't incredible, but I really enjoyed my time with that. But this is a movie that I'll probably come back to again once the DVD release happens. In fact, once the DVD/Blu-ray version comes out, I'll probably end up watching it again a few times just so I can see if I can spot all of the Easter eggs, because I probably missed a bunch in the background that were there that I did not notice the first time around. So that'll be something to keep me entertained. Like, I think it was kind of more fun at times just to look for the Easter eggs in the background, the little references to Nintendo history, than it was to watch the movie. Not saying that watching the movie was terrible, it was just like, I definitely was, like, scanning my eyeballs left, right, and center, like, all over the place, just seeing if I could spot anything, and I did spot a few things here and there. So that was kind of cool. Will there be a sequel to this movie? I don't know. I mean, I can think of directions they could go for a sequel. Like, the Koopalings were not in the movie, so that was one thing that did not happen, so if they ever end up making a Mario 2 movie, that's one thing they could bring into it. They could bring that in. Maybe bring in Yoshi, like, you know, an actual Yoshi. Like, you do get to see, like, Yoshis at one point in the movie, but it's like, they're relegated to, like, background props for, like, the, you know, the Mario, Peach, and Toad sort of, like, montage of, like, journeying toward the Donkey Kong land or whatever. So that was, like, something So I wish they did more with Yoshi. So maybe if there was a second Mario movie, they could have, like, you know, a leading green Yoshi who has a voice, who, you know, is kind of cute, kind of funny, kind of silly. They could do that. They could get Mario and Yoshi, like, you know, teaming up. And they could get, like, the Koopalings, like, with either the Koopalings or Bowser Jr. or both. So there's ways they could expand the Mario movie idea. Like, I don't know if this is going to be a one-and-done deal with Nintendo and Illumination, but I'd be down for seeing them doing another Mario movie in the future. Considering that this movie is probably going to do really well in the box office, I would not be surprised if a second movie is already in pre-conceptual phases and they're, like, you know, going to be working more to make more stuff like this, if not like other Nintendo-style movies. But yeah, I don't know if we will see a sequel, but I could see one happening in the future. I guess we'll just have to wait on that. One more thing, this is just kind of unrelated. I mean, it's sort of related, but not really. No new Mario game to come out with the movie, which is weird because, like, when you see, like, a Netflix show or whatever for a video game series, you see a lot of people buying, like, the newest game in the series, like, you know, the Witcher Netflix show and whatnot. So Nintendo didn't really capitalize on that and be like, okay, here's a new Mario game coming out with the movie, now the new Mario game's gonna sell like crazy. Instead, what they did at the start of the movie, like, you know, with the commercials and the trailers and stuff, before the movie began, they had a commercial basically advertising the Nintendo Switch with, like, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe included, and, like, they've shown, like, all the other Mario games that are currently on Switch, including Mario Odyssey, which came out 6 years ago, by the way. So yeah, Nintendo's like, oh, wait, we don't have a new Mario game, but hey, look, here's all the old Mario games you can play, even if you played them before, here. So that was just kind of funny to me, where it was like, oh, we don't have a new Mario game, but here, look at all this stuff. So yeah, that's, I guess that's it. God, I feel like there was something else I could have added on here, but I really... Again, I should have structured this better, but I'm just kind of like, you know... I'm just going off the cuff here, and I'm just kind of like saying what I have on my mind. I've been recording this for close to... I'm pushing 40 minutes at this point, so I am going to stop here. That is my overall thoughts on the Mario movie. Overall, I enjoyed it. I think it was pretty good. I'm glad to see that we're still seeing, like, video game movie adaptations that are overall pretty enjoyable. It's not like, you know, years ago where it had a very bad reputation. Like, once Detective Pikachu came out, like, several years ago, we've been seeing an upswing in those, like, video game movie adaptations, and I'm glad to see it. Even if the Mario movie is not the best thing ever in the world, it's still a good watch. So if you like Mario, then, you know, I would recommend you watch it. But yeah, that's gonna do it for me. Thank you for listening, thank you for putting up with my voice, thank you for putting up with my extremely sporadic, unstructured, very dumb commentary on the Mario movie. With that, I am going to stop here, and I will see you guys next time I stream.